Good afternoon, and welcome to Pop the Red Pill, a podcast about truth and all things parental alienation. We're here to lift the veil. My name is Kim McCord, and this is my co-host, Karen Belcourt.
Our guest today is Jill Wise, better known as the Enlightened Target. Jill is a narcissistic abuse coach who helps victims of abuse understand what they have survived, how to heal, and live their best life.
Thank you so much for being with us today, Jill.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Public pathology education is so essential for the community at large to recognize as we continue to live in this ever-increasing narcissistic culture. Social media is bursting with content about personality disorders, narcissistic abuse, and the tragic destruction around the partners of these dangerous perpetrators. As of late, Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, shall I say, Will Smith and Jada Pinkett, Kim Kardashian and Kanye West, Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, and the list goes on. These relationships are all about power and control. Jill, what are the most prevalent behaviors a narcissistic abuser will use in these toxic relationships to control their partners?
Well, I will say it depends on, what type of narcissist they are sometimes. However, overall, what we're talking about, when we talk about getting them hooked, getting them involved in the beginning, we're going to be talking about love bombing. We're going to be talking about the cycles of abuse. So they get us interested, they love bomb us. They will do something called mirroring. So they will mirror back behavior that it replicates our own behavior. They like what we like, they value what we value. And so in many respects, in the beginning, we think we have met, our soulmate, our dream person. Then over time, they'll start slowly devaluing you and, putting you down. It can be disguised as jokes, silent treatment. They can, just turn off the love and affection, or at least turn it down. Over time, these periods will get longer and longer. And what happens is a trauma bond is formed. And when you become trauma bonded to another human being, we're in a whole different area. This is not a normal relationship. This will not be a normal breakup. And this is, an indication that there is a very serious pathology going on in this relationship.
Thank you. And I'd just like to take a moment to invite our viewers to, if you like our content, check below, like and subscribe to our channel. Thank you very much. So, and getting back to our questions. So all three of us have survived these abusive relationships and the mind-bending stories that these predators concoct. Jill, what are some of the most jaw-dropping false allegations or fabricated stories that you've either ever experienced or heard from some of your clients regarding narcissistic abuse?
Oh my goodness. Brother. I had a client not long ago catch his wife in bed with another man. And a week later, she tried to convince him that he was mistaken, that the entire event hadn't happened. I've had another client, and this is more common than you would think, actually believed she had been with her abuser for so long, and the coercive control tactics she had been subjected to were so extreme. She actually believed that her abuser could read her mind and was, living in a state of panic, believing if she had a wrong thought or something, bad about him, he was going to find out, and so on and so forth. When we get into the alienators, when we get into the parental alienators, the gloves are off. If we're talking about a case that is in family court, the alienators, there is no level they will not sink to in the allegations that they will
Mhm.
accuse the targeted parent of, and probably the, the most horrific is sexual abuse. They know that's going to, instantly put the court on guard. They're going to have an obligation to remove the child, or to do, a series of investigations. And it's, very, very damaging to that parent's, obviously, to that parent's reputation. So they can, these people will say and do anything. Me, myself, he told the court that the reason I had to send my son to see him for a summer visitation. He said the reason that our son was there was because I was in rehab, because I'm a junkie, that I live with a drug dealer, that I deal drugs, that I mean, it just goes on and on and on. With a straight face, he's saying this.
Mhm.
And the very ironic thing about that is this is all of the things he's guilty of doing. So
Oh, the projection. The projection is huge. Yes.
It's like they try and swap identities with you, especially when you get to
Yeah.
court. They will take credit for the things that you have done in raising the kids and being a parent, and they will project onto you all of the, terrible, horrible things they are guilty of doing.
Mhm.
And they're very convincing, and it's, like I said, there's no limit they won't go to.
Mhm. One of the ones that I've heard very often is the abuser will tell the children that the target parent wanted to abort them.
Oh yeah.
And they were, of course, then they can be the hero and say, "But I saved you."
Yeah.
I mean, it's atrocious. You're right. There's no,
It's terrible. It's terrible. I've hear that from my clients. I've heard that one before. In my own case, and with many, many other alienated parents that I work with, they abandoned you. They don't love you.
Mhm.
No matter what the targeted parent is doing to try and get in touch with that child, with the children, and they prevent it, they isolate the child. Targeted parent can't get communication with the child, and they tell them these horrendous, horrific, blatant lies to this child, to the point where they believe them.
Yeah. And I think that one that you just mentioned is so damaging, because not only do they often say the target parent does not love you, they usually say the target parent does not love us. So they group themselves in with the children as if
Right.
it's us against that.
Yeah.
It's very cult-like, very cult-like.
That
Yes.
pathological enmeshment is always, always present with alienating cases.
Yeah.
So the alienating parent and the child, to the alienating parent, they are one. It
Mhm.
is them, they are against everyone, and they are the protector.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And hence them being able to keep the children quiet and
Sure.
keep the secret, because you don't want to tell anybody what's going on, because all those people out there in the world, they're against us. So
Oh
we
yeah.
must stay together in our little
Mhm.
cult, as it is.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. My ex has made my son keep secrets. Many I won't say, to protect his privacy, but even to this day, I know the burden he carries with the
Mhm.
secrets that he has been forced to keep. Um, and it's just so damaging for these kids.
Mhm. Absolutely.
And it's so heartbreaking for us, the parent, the healthy, targeted, alienated parent. It's just, I have found it to be so completely heartbreaking, knowing how much my children have suffered,
Oh
and
yeah.
how completely unaware they are that they've been lied to. And they, like you said, when they don't have contact with that, the healthy, loving parent, they have no way of knowing that
Yeah.
what they're hearing is not true.
True. Yeah. And even when you do establish communication again, but if in my experience, I would got him back, but if they've still got a phone, to the alienator, the relationship isn't going to progress. That's why in severe alienating cases, there must be those 90 days no contact court orders in place, so that the child can get to know the targeted parent again without the brainwashing going on by the alienating parent.
Protective separation is the only way, because the authentic child will not be able to have any sort of connection with the target parent if they are fearful of the alienator hearing or knowing what they're saying, right?
Absolutely. I've told many people, it's like, say you got a family member out of a cult, you got him home, and then you gave him the phone to the cult leader. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
You know, that communication must be broken for a time.
Yeah.
You know, and hopefully, if the alienating parent is able to get help, you know, they could be helped. And if they're not, then, you know, the goal being the court take the appropriate steps to see to it something like this doesn't happen again in this family.
Mm-hmm. So Jill, in all these torturous relationships that we're hearing about on social media, there seems to be an empath and an abuser.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about this folie à deux, or dance macabre as they call it, that takes place between these two very opposing personalities, and why they are attracted to each other?
Well, and I think that that's kind of layered. It can be a lot of answers. For me personally, the way I kind of look at it is we are polar opposites for starters. So opposites are going to attract. Usually narcissists are going to target people that they believe are better than them. It's a challenge. They want to be associated with someone that they genuinely believe, you know, is better than them. They are attracted to people that possess the exact qualities and character traits that they know they don't have. Mm-hmm. So, you know, and again, in the beginning, for the empath, the narcissist, well, number one, for the empath, it doesn't enter our mind until after we've usually been, you know, very, very burned by one of these people, that people like this exist, number one, let alone that we could be involved with one. So just knowing that, you know, we're the naivete that goes along with an empath when they get into a relationship, very, very trusting. And so we, you know, tend to believe what they're telling us, and that, you know, we have no reason to believe that there are people out in the world that are really out there targeting other people to do harm. So, and then if you get into Sandra Brown's research, we have those Super 8 traits. So they're looking for and can see those Super 8 traits in us from a million miles away. So, and on, you know, for the narcissist, they're charismatic, they're charming, they're they're usually very seductive and appealing. So, you know, this, you know, attraction, it you know, happens a lot between empaths and narcissists.
So speaking of Sandra L. Brown and the super traits, maybe between all of us, we can remember all of them. There's quite a few. I haven't read those for a while, but we all know we have them.
Right.
So, you know, one thing that I think is important for the audience to understand is we are targeted for the goodness that we have, or, you know, a target is targeted for the goodness and the kind and empathic traits they have, not because they're bad.
Oh no, that's absolutely,
right?
Because the narcissist knows they have to have someone with extraordinarily high levels of empathy and compassion, because they know they're going to have to exploit those later on when their mask starts to come off. So they know they're going to have to make the victim pity them and feel sorry for them and empathize with, you know, whatever story they tell them, so that they don't leave the relationship.
Exactly. So one of them that stands out in my mind that I recall, the super traits, are that the target is very trustworthy. and almost to a point overly trustworthy, where they trust people before people have given them reason to be trustworthy.
Yeah.
So,
So, and we have extraordinarily high levels of empathy. They believe that could be genetic. Extremely high levels of loyalty. Sometimes, it's called blind loyalty. Loyal to a fault, loyal before anyone has earned, the right to be that loyal. Something called relational investment. So we don't give up on relationships easily. We've spent this amount of time in this relationship and we don't want to give up on the person. And all of those, you take all of those 8 traits and boy, it makes for a perfect victim for the narcissist. And they're acutely aware. Narcissists know how to size people up very quickly. They've been doing this a long time. So they're acutely aware of who is going to be a better target and partner for them and who isn't. Who's going to be easier to manipulate, who's going to be easier to take advantage of, who's going to be able to keep in the relationship longer.
Yeah. Who's going to be better fuel to keep the fire burning for them?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. While at the same time, they want, their partner to contribute to creating the image that they want to portray to the outside world. So by association, if they get with somebody that is kind and has values and is respectable and all of these things, by association, in a respect, they will too. So there's many reasons why they target, certain people, but it's incredibly calculated and premeditated.
Very good. Karen?
I was going to say that there's a couple of other ones like agreeableness.
Yes, agreeableness.
I just remember, how, I remember working so diligently to try and figure out how to keep things running smoothly, operating smoothly, communicating and connecting in a way that, really made sense and that worked. The harder I tried, the more it went sideways.
Yeah. But it's so true. We do. I did the same thing. I think we all did. I did that with my father growing up. I mean, constantly trying to figure out ways to keep him happy, to make the evening work, to make dinner go smoothly was, my goal as a child many times. And because we go through these cycles, again, because they sprinkle the abuse with moments of love and affection, moments of kindness, moments of, being nice to us, we're in that hamster wheel of continually trying to keep them happy. Because we think that those moments, that they can become 100% that type of person. When the reality is, what we have to accept is the good version of themselves is nothing more than a manipulation. The abused person that we see is who they are at the soul and the core of who they are.
Yes.
And your behavior has nothing to do with the way they act. So it doesn't matter how good, how kind, how agreeable, it doesn't matter.
Absolutely nothing. And in fact, I think they enjoy mixing it up where there is no rhyme or reason, because it keeps them, it keeps you even further off balanced and confused.
Right.
So a lot of times they may go into a devalue cycle just out of sheer boredom. They bore very quickly. So this is a game to them. This is a psychological game to them that they enjoy. And they know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah. I also see how disturbed, they're just really, there's no peace there. They're just always disturbed and looking to create conflict and chaos.
Always.
So Jill, when these dangerous relationships include children, the damage caused to these formative little people can be severe. What are the most prevalent problems you see plaguing children that grow up in these dysfunctional families of narcissistic abuse?
Well, usually it usually goes one of two ways. Unfortunately, usually they will start developing narcissistic traits themselves and are looking at turning into a narcissist if an intervention isn't, if this isn't intervened before the personality is fully formed, many times they will develop narcissistic personality disorder themselves. Or the other aspect of it, many times they will develop codependency. They will have, extraordinarily low self-esteem. There'll be people plagued with complex PTSD, have a, nasty and mean, horrible inner critic. They will, so not only, so even when they get away from their abuser, a lot of times they won't get better because they're continuing to abuse themselves in their own mind. So it's, not to mention if the child has been alienated, the shame and the guilt that these kids carry, these adult kids carry once they learn what has happened, is, it can be catastrophic. And, if they figure it out at all. And
that's what I was just thinking. That's
Yeah.
what I was just thinking. And I know it's kind of an unknown number, but really, what percentage of children figure it out when they've been so alienated and so manipulated?
I have a client right now who figured it out a couple of years ago, but her mother has passed away. So, this is very real, and this is severe trauma.
Yeah. So the unresolved trauma just continues on because that parent, you can't even, reconcile with them now that the chance is gone.
Yeah. And so they carry that for the rest of their lives. And a lot of times, like in my son's case, he was tricked and manipulated and influenced and bribed and everything else you can imagine to participate in trying to destroy my life. So, the guilt that he carries from that, which of course isn't his burden to carry, but these kids, this is horrible what these children are subjected to.
Yes.
It is. Yes. Yeah.
So, Jill, empathy is the trait that makes us most human. And given that these abusers appear not to have any empathy, I refer to avatars. So what are your recommendations for keeping yourself safe and clear of these dangerous avatars?
Well, number one, educate yourself. Educate yourself about their traits, educate yourself about how they operate, educate yourself about love bombing, and remember, keep a formula in your mind. We call it the 3 E's. What you're looking for all the time: a lack of empathy, entitled behavior, and exploitative behavior. When you see those 3 behaviors, get away. Cut your losses and get away. And most importantly, in my opinion, is listen to your intuition, listen to your gut instincts. All of us, when we look back, when we met the narcissist, had a feeling, had a something just went right. We suppress it, or in my case, I said, "Oh, you're not giving him a fair chance," or "You're being judgmental," or whatever. All of that is wrong. Listen to your intuition, listen to your gut instincts. That is God's or Mother Nature's, or however the universe, it's there to keep you safe. And always listen to that. That's number one. And educate yourself, and also have, extremely strong boundaries, and take your time getting to know somebody. And when the actions and the words do not align, you need to, patterns of behavior are what you're looking for, not words.
I like that. Take your time getting to know someone, because the narcissist typically will move in very quickly, force you to move in with them, or they want to move in with you. So to me, whenever I hear somebody talking about a relationship and one of the partners is moving quickly, I'm like, red flag, red flag.
Well, that's what's so great about boundaries where narcissists are concerned, because if they can't blow down your boundaries pretty quickly, They're
Yeah.
going to discard you and move on to somebody else, which is exactly what we want.
Yeah, that's your lucky day.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you. So if anyone would like to contact Jill for narcissistic recovery coaching, you can reach her at the Enlightened Target at gmail.com, which will be listed in the chat below. And Jill, thank you so much for sharing your insight with us. It's been very enlightening.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure, ladies.
Thank you.
My name is Kim McCord, and along with my co-host Karen Belcourt, we thank you, our audience, and the fabulous guest Jill Weiss for joining us today. And remember, when you see crazy, cross the street.
Run.